Hi. I've got a letter from Jake. It's fairly long, sort of in a few different parts, and I'm going to try and see if I can't explain things a little bit. It says, you mentioned in the previous talk that Buddha taught to not cling to either the concept of self or the concept of not self. However, to not cling to anything or any concept is actually the concept of not self. To me, there is one or the other. You can't agree with both concepts or deny both of them. Well, the important thing to remember here, without trying to get too wrapped up in things, is the wording not to cling to the concept of self and not to cling to the concept of not self. When Buddha was giving these talks, there were people that were getting very confused. If you said that there is no self, then people got distressed and they didn't understand and they took off. If you said that there is, there is a self, there isn't a self, no matter which way you put it, with certain people, due to their understanding, they were just going to get confused and wander off. And so the Buddha said not to cling to either one of these concepts. Now, the important thing is, all the teachings of the Buddha come back to, we have to see the truth from within. And so if I say to somebody, there is a self, then they need to examine, can I see a self within myself? If I tell them that everything is not self, then again they have to examine inside. It's no use just taking my words. It's no use just taking the words of the Buddha. These are things that need to be experienced. And the only way we're going to experience these things is through our practice of meditation. And then we start to see whether we accept or we don't accept either one of these two. But as I say, the important thing is not clinging to any of these particular concepts. Often, to cling to the not self can actually cause people to do things that they shouldn't be doing, really. So, well, if everything is not self, then no matter what I do, it's not me, it's not I, and therefore it's not bad. Now, this can be quite dangerous. On the other hand, if there's a self, then we can become very greedy. We can walk all over people. We don't care. It's all about me, myself, and about I. So we don't cling to either one of these concepts. So the whole concept that we're into is just the examination. We study the Buddha Dhamma, and we reflect upon the Buddha Dhamma. We meditate upon the Buddha Dhamma, and we start to see for ourselves how this whole concept of self or not self is actually put to work. And so, as I say, Buddha did say that these are a thicket of views, they're a tangle of views, and so sometimes we just need to put this whole concept to one side and just do the practice. Otherwise, we can get very, very confused and we don't know where we're going. And just to listen to somebody talking about it can be confusing. We just need to go inside. The Buddha told us that we need to come and to see for ourselves, to examine it for ourselves, to ask questions about it, of course, but the important thing is that we need to look inside. We need to start to understand from a very personal point of view. It's no use saying this great master told me this, this great master told me that, or even, Greg told me this, because you need to experience this for yourself. You need to see it for yourself. So that's hopefully taking care of that sort of things. There you go on. The concept of not self contradicts the concept of reincarnation. Anatta says that nothing belongs to you or is you, including the 5 aggregates. So what is it that gets carried over to the next life after a person dies, and how? Okay, first and foremost, in the Theravada tradition, at least, we don't talk about reincarnation. We talk about rebirth or rebecoming. Reincarnation and rebecoming are two very different concepts. They may seem like they're the same, but they're not. Now, you say that Anatta says that nothing belongs to you. Well, actually, you are owner of your karma. You know, that does belong to you. You're the heir of your karma. You are born of your karma. And so, if there is anything that belongs to you, it is your karma, and it's your karma that travels on. So, you say, what is it that gets carried over to the next life after a person dies, and how? Okay, so, back to karma. It's your karma that passes on from one life to another. You may know the simile of the candle. You know, we have one candle, and we light the candle, and it burns down, it burns down, it burns down, and it's about to go out. It's starting to splutter. We take another candle, we light that candle from the first candle, and this candle dies. It's now gone. Now this candle starts to burn, but can we say that this candle is the same as that candle? Now this would be reincarnation if it was the same, but it's not. But the cause of this candle was the last moment of this candle. That's what's carried over, but the candle is not the same. It's a different candle. It's burning a different wick. It's burning different wax. It's burning different oxygen. And so what it is, when we die, we have our death proximate karma and stuff like that. This is what carries us over into our next life. And so every mind moment, when a mind moment arises, it lasts momentarily and then it ceases. Now, when it ceases, the cessation of that mind moment is the cause of the next mind moment. Now, that next mind moment takes with it all the karma from the previous mind moment, collects its own karma, ceases, and it passes on. And this is how the karma gets transferred from one life into another life, into another life, and so on and so forth. And so that is what gets, what goes on from one life to another, and basically how it happens. But as you can see, there is something we own, and it's our karma. So if there is reincarnation, after achieving nibbana or becoming enlightened, the process of reincarnation stops. However, in Tibetan Buddhism, the Dalai Lama can get reincarnated. Does that mean he doesn't yet achieve nibbana, or he can choose whether to get reincarnated? Either way doesn't make sense to me. If he hasn't yet achieved nibbana, then he doesn't know what he's teaching about. If the teaching works, there would have been many who have enlightened or have achieved nibbana. Then all would choose to get reincarnated to teach the others due to the matter to other beings. The world would have been a better place than what it is now, filled with more enlightened people and many other places around the earth. Maybe the world already have got these people, or maybe I misunderstood something. Okay, this gets a little complicated. Once you achieve enlightenment, and then you were to die afterwards, after how many years, or whatever it is, you attain, your parinibbana, and so rebirth is over. No more becoming, which is different from the concept, of course, of reincarnation. Now, Tibetan Buddhism, I don't want to go into this too deeply because I don't know enough on the topic of Tibetan Buddhism, and so this question is probably better aimed at a Tibetan Buddhist monk. However, my understanding of it is quite simply this. In Tibetan Buddhism, they have what they call the bodhisattva or bodhisattva vow that many people who follow that particular tradition take. Now, a bodhisattva is in actual fact unenlightened. And my understanding is that what they do is they choose to put off their enlightenment until all sentient beings have crossed over. Now, personally, I don't quite see how that would work. As an ideal, I can't fault it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the bodhisattva ideal. It's very compassionate, it's very caring. But we can't, for instance, we can't all teach. The Buddha talks about, only one Buddha can ever arise at any one time. And then we have what we call Pacceka Buddhas. Now, Pacceka Buddhas, another word for Pacceka Buddhas are private Buddhas. Now, these Buddhas arise from time to time. We don't know how many there are due to the fact that they are what's called private Buddhas. They don't have the ability to teach the Dhamma in the same way as a Sammā Sambuddha can do. And so they're there, but you wouldn't sort of know that they're there because they wouldn't be teaching anything. It's the same with arahats. There are probably many arahats about, but a lot of them may not be teaching, or they may be teaching. But don't forget, a lot of people, I think for a start, a monk's not allowed to run around telling people he's an arahat for a start. And of course, just because you have these people doesn't mean that the world will be a better place. While the Buddha was alive, for the 45 years that he was teaching, there weren't that many people who attained enlightenment. The world went on. There's many people who chose to reject the teachings of the Buddha. We can't force anybody to believe what is being said. Some people would just reject it outright. Some people will take a little bit longer to come and understand the message of the Buddha. But the world probably probably has got a lot more enlightened people than you and I may even realise. But we have to be in the same place at the same time as those people, and that can often come down to our own personal kamma. So I hope that helps you a little bit with that particular understanding. Now, there was another question I believe you posted that I sort of saw quite quickly. It had something to do with the divine consciousness, all that sort of stuff, or the connectedness of the universe. We are all one. See, again, there's some truth in that, and yet it's not quite that simple. Of course, many of the things that we do affect those people around us. We have, if I choose to play loud music at night time, great set of woofers and everything, and then of course that's going to affect my next door neighbours, the people in my street and stuff like that. So there's a connectedness there. Recently here, it was the annual, sort of burning off up in the hills and burning off of the rice paddies, and so of course, not only did that affect the people in the immediate area, a couple of the provinces here in the north of Thailand were quite badly affected by the smoke. Many people going into hospitals with respiratory problems. And then, of course, you know, we get into the whole, you know, the whole greenhouse effect, or the CO2 emissions and all that sort of stuff. And so there's definitely, you know, if you want to look at it that way, there is a connectedness. And so, you know, out of compassion, of course, we try and watch the way we behave, how we speak, you know, all these sorts of things, because they can affect other people. But at the end of the day, as I said earlier on, my karma is my karma, you know, and if everything was connected, then we'd have no chance, because there are probably a lot more people out there who aren't enlightened than there are those who are enlightened. And so if we're all connected, then it's going to make life really, really tough for a whole bunch of us. And so there is a connectedness and there isn't a connectedness, if that makes sense to you. All right, so I hope that helps with your understanding. Thanks for your letter. Sorry it took so long. It's been a little bit busy here at the moment. Okay, bye now.